You are going to DPS very, very slowly. Okay, nuke it, dot it. More dots now. Throw more dots. Throw more dots. More dots. More dots. Come on, more dots.
Crush him was fair than turret.
Who the f was that?
Hey, what's up guys, it's Sophie from the Master Boxer and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Face tanking god, that is the theme for today's build. I wanted to update the face tanking monster god of dots that I built a few months ago. This is after the war generation fixed to Profane Veil, and I wanted to introduce the perfect balance of offense and defense, stacking in the damage over time like no other class in the game. And to make it much more interesting, we're gonna be playing with elemental damage such as ice, fire, and necrotic, sprinkling in that really nice elemental lifesteal to basically have unlimited war generation, take on empowered monoliths, bosses, arenas, or any content in the game by just literally standing there like a torrent of destruction. Without further ado, I present to you the Necro Freeze Warlock. Enjoy. We're gonna start off and build the foundation of our Warlock with our Forbidden Knowledge. This will increase our intelligence as well as our necrotic resistance, and now we will be taking 5 levels of this, providing us with +5 of our intelligence. Necrotic resistance will be 25%. We'll be grabbing Mania of Mortality just to provide that ward gain per enemy death. Level 1 of this will provide us with ward gain by 13. We will now go back and finish up our Forbidden Knowledge and take the 8 levels of this, totaling us with +8 of our intelligence and +40 of our necrotic resistance. We will now increase our ward gain by taking 7 levels of our Mania of Mortality, granting us 91 ward gain per enemy death, and opening up the Unnatural Preservation node. This will basically provide us with ward retention, increasing our necrotic resistance and more, and providing some poison resistance. We will take 5 levels of this, totaling our ward retention by 40% and increasing our necrotic and poison resistance by 20%. Now we're finally finishing up our Mania of Mortality and grabbing the 10 levels of this, totaling our ward gain per enemy death by 130. Most likely around level 20 to 23, your Acolyte Passives will look like this. Now let's get into increasing the effectivity of our Warlock class. We're gonna start off with Chaos Flame. This will increase the power of our fire and necrotic damage, as well as increasing the chances of our ignite and damned chances for our fire and necrotic spells respectively. We're gonna be grabbing 5 levels of this, giving us 30% flat out damage across our fire and necrotic damage. Soul Stealer is up next and we'll be taking 5 levels of this, increasing our mana regeneration by 20% and unlocking the 5-point bonus. We have a chance to gain our mana back per enemies that are cursed, which is 13%, and the amount of mana that we'll be gaining is 13. Ward of Malevolence is up next. This will provide us with Ward Decay Threshold, as well as further increasing the number of ward we gain on enemy kill. So we'll be increasing this to level 5. Imperishable is up next and we'll be taking 3 levels of this just to get that 3-point bonus. Ward Decay Threshold is increased per 1% necrotic resistance. Just to open up the node some more, we'll be taking Harrowing Armor. This will increase our armor by 10 as well as our health. Going back to our Chaos Flames, we'll be grabbing 1 level of this just to unlock a node that we really need for the build, build while also increasing our overall offensive fire and necrotic by 36%. We will now be taking ward protections here. We will be increasing this to level 7 as early as possible, providing us a total of 35 ward gain per second and unlocking the 5-point bonus every time the enemies are cursed. We take less damage per cursed enemies by 2%. Wither will be up next and we'll be taking 5 levels of this, increasing the chances on hit of our Wither by 100%. We will also be unlocking our 5-point bonus whenever we spread the Withered curse. We take less damage from withered targets by 8%. To add more curses in our arsenal, we'll be taking Encroaching Darkness and just take 1 point of this just to add the Anguish curse on our enemies. Infernal Lash is our next priority and we'll be taking 8 levels of this. This will provide us more ignite chances by 104%. Unlocking that 5-point bonus will grant us the Flame Whip with every 25 stacks of ignite on our targets, as well as the Ignite Overload for 12 seconds. Now we'll be moving into our Chaotic Strike and take 2 levels of this. We have a chance to double our damage by 2% with every cursed target in the area. Double damage chance per curses is 0.4%. What's really cool is that Chaos Bolt not only deals elemental damage, it also spread damage over time. Chaotic Strikes will also unlock the node that we need for the build, which is Wreck Havoc. And we will just take 3 points of this. This will unlock our 3-point bonus. Our Chaotic Strikes or Chaos Bolts will have an increased critical modifier by 30%, as well as the flat out critical multiplier will be increased by 24%. A curse here will be up next and we'll be taking 5 levels of this, increasing our cast speed by 20% while also increasing the cast speed of our curses by 25%. The 3-point bonus that we'll be unlocking is whenever we reduce our health by 35%. All curses will be cleansed and we'll be getting 100 ward per curse cleansed on us. After taking a curse here, we'll be grabbing 1 level of Fleeting Crone just to have a chance to grant haste for 2 seconds every time we kill an enemy or hit bosses or rare enemies. What after that is we'll go back to our Chaos Flame and now max this out to level 8, totaling a 48% increased damage on our fire and necrotic. Around level 65 to 75, we will now prioritize on increasing our intelligence and scale our intelligence-based spells, which are all of them. We will now take Occult's Mind and max this out to level 8. Granting us a total of +8 to our intelligence and unlocking that 5-point bonus, we gain additional mana per point of our intelligence. Malefic Body is also a great pick because it grants us intelligence as well as vitality every time we spend points on this. We will be taking 10 points of this, totaling it up to 10 points of our vitality as well as our intelligence. Most likely around level 75 to 80, your nodes will look like this. Now for the points that you'll be spending from 80 to 100, I highly advise taking Ashen 1. This will increase our necrotic damage some more as well as increasing our elemental damage. So we'll be taking 5 levels of this. This will increase our elemental and necrotic damage by 40% and unlocking our 5-point bonus, granting us the ability to proc Witchfire, which is a fire and necrotic damage for free. The other points that you might want to spend on is on the Lich Tree and take Apocrypha by 10 points here, granting us a total of +10 intelligence as well as a 20% increase in our mana regeneration. The other points that you might want to consider is Survival of the Cruel, granting us spell damage leech by 1.5% if you spend 3 points here. Now let's talk about the skills. Our first priority skill will be our Chthonic Fissure. This will be their primary damage source, especially in our leveling process. Chthonic Fissure deals fire and necrotic damage, and we will be using that to our advantage. We're gonna start off with our Fragile Crust, decreasing our mana cost by 4, as well as refunding mana by 6%. We're just gonna focus on our upper left side of this tree, taking 2 points of Felfire here, granting us the ability to spread Ignite stacks on a total of 2 targets. Stygian Current will be the next one, increasing the spirit frequency by 20% and opening up the most important node node that we need for the build, which is the Chaotic Rupture. Taking points in Chaotic Rupture will give us a chance to replace the spirits with Chaos Bolts, and level 3 of this will grant us 60% chance. What's really cool is that all of the Chaos Bolts from our Chthonic Fissure will also scale from our Chaos Bolts tree. Next up is the Of Gloom and Flames. I really like this node. Aside from it doubling the length of your Chthonic Fissure, the amount of spirits that this releases is also increased. Next priority is our Tomb Gorger, and we'll be taking 3 levels of this. This basically increases the damage of our Torment whenever the enemies are inflicted with damage over time spells. Now we'll be focusing on the lower left side of the tree, taking Spirit Gale here for level 1. When tormented enemies die, they have a chance to release spirits, further inflicting other targets with torment within an 8-meter AoE. Damned Waters is another curse that we can stack on our enemies, and we'll be taking 2 levels of this, increasing our damn chance by 2. Twisted Waves will be our next priority. We'll be scaling our Torment and adding more damage per 2% of our necrotic resistance. Grim Tide will be up next. This will add 1% critical strike multiplier to our necrotic damage. And for the final node that you might want to grab, if you have additional points in your Chthonic Fissure, which is the Chronicles of Ruin. This will increase the duration of our Torment as well as increasing our damage over time spells. Second priority skill is our Chaos Bolt. The default elemental damage that we have for our Chaos Bolt is fire and necrotic, and we'll be transforming this to cold and necrotic damage. We're gonna start off with Mania of Flames and focus on our lower left side of the tree and grab 1 point of this to open up the branches some more, granting us an additional ignite chance by 20%. This will open up the Call of Mortitas, basically transforming the fire damage into cold damage, as well as our ignite chance will now be converted to frostbite chance. What's interesting is that Chaos Bolt now deals cold and necrotic damage, while our Chthonic Fissure still has the ability to deal fire damage and necrotic damage. It now has a chance to proc cold damage with our Chaos Bolt. Interesting, right? Chance of Snow is up next, and we will take 5 levels of this, giving us chill chance by 100%. What's interesting is that it has a chance to double hit against chilled enemies by 6%. Torment of the Red Tundra will increase our freeze rate per 1% of our cold resistance by 6%, as well as increasing our physical damage over time by 4% per cold resistance. After taking Torment of Red Tundra, we will now be moving into our southern right side of our tree. We will take Abrupt Chaos here, increasing our cast speed by 4% and our projectile speed by 8%. We will take Doom's Vindication by 1% here, increasing our Chaos Bolt damage on our cursed enemies by 4%. And one of the most important nodes that we need for our Chaos Bolt skill, this will help us mitigate the mana requirement of this spell because we gain 2 mana per cursed enemies, as well as our health gain will also increase by 12. By taking this node, we are now able to just press down the Chaos Bolt button and let the spell rain down on our enemies while we take back our mana that we used. Cursed Blood will be up next. This will refresh the duration of our curses as well as returning our health by 6. Another affliction will be the final node on the southern side, giving us the ability to cast Bone Curse on the enemies that are hit with our Chaos Bolt. After taking another affliction, we will now go back and take 1 level of Mania in Flames, increasing the ignite chance by 40%, and we will now grab Exalt in Misery, increasing our Chaos Bolt damage whenever an enemy is afflicted by our dots. We will take 3 levels of this, totaling up the increased damage by 12%. To further increase our damage some more, we will now take a Grave 4-2. Our Chaos Bolts deal more damage over time, equal to a portion of our missing health. And finally, we will be spending Mania in Flames and grabbing level 3 of this, totaling it up to 60%. If you acquire other points that you can spread in the Chaos Bolt tree, I highly advise you finish up Mania of Flames. Third priority node is Transplant and will be our primary traversal skill. We'll be starting off and taking Fleeting Form, increasing the cooldown recovery as much as 15% on max level. Right after that, this will be moving to the upper right portion of the tree by taking 2 levels in Acolyte's Fever. This will grant us Haste and Frenzy every time we use Transplant for 2 seconds. Right after that is Azure Veins will be our next priority. This will grant us mana gain whenever we hit an enemy using our Transplant. We'll be taking 2 levels of this, granting us mana gain on enemy hit by 2. Pale Blood will be our next priority and max this out to level 3. This will provide the ability for our Transplant to restore 30 mana whenever we use this skill. After finishing up Pale Blood, we will now focus on the southern right side of the tree and take Rain of Blood. This will basically grant us another detonation upon arrival of our Transplant. After that is Doombringer. When we arrive to our location using our Transplant, we will be proccing Bone Curse on that area. Cursed Exile will be our next top priority and max this out to level 5 as early as possible, basically increasing the damage of our Transplant on cursed enemies as well as gaining health on burn cursed enemies and ward gain on enemies that have Spirit Plague by 40. After maxing out Cursed Exile, we will now spend points in Anemia and take 2 levels of this, decreasing the health cost of our Transplant by 16%. And finally, finishing up with our Bone Armor. We gain Bone Armor for 4 seconds, that's totaling up to 100, and decreasing our damage taken by 4%. Now for our 4th priority node is our Bone Curse. This skill will be our utility spell and add more freeze and chill stacks to as much enemies as possible. We're gonna be grabbing Crippling Anguish just to open up our upper right nodes of this build. We'll be taking 1 level of this to provide slow duration by 2 seconds. Cultist Fever is up next and we'll take 2 levels of this, decreasing our Bone Curse requirement and increasing its cast speed. Mana efficiency is 20% and cast speed is 10%. Chillblains will be the next priority and we will take 3 levels of this. This increases our chill chance by 36% whenever an enemy is hit by Bone Curse. Bitter Winter will be maxed out to level 5, increasing the freeze rate by 100 whenever the enemies are hit again with our Bone Curse. After that, this will now focus on the upper left side of the tree by taking Iron Maiden here, increasing the damage we deal with our Bone Curse. We'll take 2 levels of this, granting us additional damage by 20%. We will now grab Bitter Bone here and take 2 levels of this. Bone Curse deals more damage by 8% as well as has the ability to instantly kill our enemies below 8%. We will now grab Ruptured Core. When enemies are executed by our Bone Curse, they have a chance to explode on death, dealing additional Bone Curses in an AoE by 25%. We will now grab and max out our Cultist Fever here, granting us a total of our mana efficiency for our Bone Curse by 40% and increasing our cast speed by 20%. And the final node that we'll be grabbing for our Bone Curse is Conflation, which increases the AoE of our Bone Curse by 60%. Now for our final skill and our secret sauce that will provide us as much ward as possible for this build, which is Spirit Plague. We're gonna start off with Hindering Affliction, granting us slow stacks by 2 seconds and opening up the nodes to the north of this tree. We'll be taking 3 levels of Plague Burst. We have a chance to spread Spirit Plague when we hit an afflicted enemy that is 30%. Now grabbing 3 levels of Putrid Recovery, we gain ward when hitting an enemy afflicted by Spirit Plague. Agonizing Expanse will be up next. Spirit Plague is gonna be spreading when we proc critical strikes on the afflicted targets. Right after that, this will be taking Pestilence and 2 levels of this. When an enemy is hit by Spirit Plague, our dots have an increased damage of 10%. We will now grab Plague Bearer. This has a chance to spread plague on the enemies whenever they are hit with Spirit Plague. After taking Plague Bearer, we'll be grabbing Enfeeblement to provide frailty stacks on our targets that has the Spirit Plague, that is 1 stack of frailty. We will now increase the damage of our Spirit Plague by introducing Plague of Eyes. Spirit Plague now has additional spell necrotic damage for each point of our intelligence. After Plague of Eyes, we will now go south and increase the mana efficiency as well as the duration of our Spirit Plague and take 2 levels of this. Mana efficiency will be increased by 60% and the duration will be increased by 24%. We'll be grabbing Perpetuity and take 2 levels of this. Spirit Plague now has increased cast speed, as well as further increasing the duration by 40%. We'll also be introducing 2 seconds of fear to our enemies. After introducing fear stacks, we will now finish up and take Pestilence into max level here. This will grant us a total of additional 15% to our damage over time. Just to summarize everything, the skills that you will be bringing from the mid game to your end game is Chthonic Fissure, Chaos Bolt, Transplant, Bone Curse, and Spirit Plague. Alright, now it's time for the gear. The gear that I have here is not perfect, by the way, but this is the basic setup that you most likely you will be having, especially from your mid game to end game journey. I'm still in the process of finding legendary potential items so that I can slam and make some legendary gear for myself. Some idols is still in the process, like I'm looking for more idols that provide chances to chill on our necrotic skills. Now there are a few priority items that you might want to grab as early as possible so that you can have a really good time with your build. Starting with the Mad Alchemist Ladle, this is one of my favorite ones in the game because of the amount of negative ailments that we can stack. It generally increases the amount of spell damage that we have for our dots. For the early levels, you might want to grab the Prism Wraps. You can actually use this armor around level 5. This gives you overall resistance and elemental damage increase, but the most notable thing here is our elemental damage leech, which is really good for the build because we have a lot of elemental damage as well as elemental dot damage. For the offhand weapon, Rot Mind is my choice. The coolest thing about this catalyst is that it increases the overall area of our dot spells by 10%. For the mid game, you might want to grab the Bone Clamor Barberet. The most notable thing about this headpiece is that we gain 1 ward per second per 3 uncapped necrotic resistance. The other one is the Boots, which is the last steps of the living, granting us freeze rate multiplier while we have low health, as well as our missing health will also be converted to ward. Soul Gambler's Fallacy is also a great choice. The gloves will be our Frostbite Shackles. You will be able to equip this around level 74. This will increase our Frostbite chances, increasing the frostbite duration, freeze rate modifier, and whenever an enemy is frozen, we gain 16 ward on that frozen enemy. The coolest thing about these gloves is that we gain 1% ward retention per 1% uncapped cold resistance. For the relic, we will be using this amazing relic. We are able to convert our health into ward when we use our necrotic spells as well as our elemental spells, while also increasing our cast speed by 10%. For the rings is the Oshirion. I don't know if I pronounce it properly. It increases our chill chance on hit, increases our chill duration, freeze rate, as well as granting us a chance to shock on hit. Emulator's Oblation is my preferred belt. It increases our ignite chance to ourselves by 56%. While also increasing our spell damage for fire necrotic spells, and ignites us by 40 stacks, increasing the ignite duration by 12%, as well as cleansing all of the ailments when we use our potion. We will also be proccing ignite on us because of the nature of the Chthonic Fissure that deals fire and necrotic damage, as I mentioned earlier. Finally, for the final ring is the Jewelress Star Dial, which gives us mana per spent gain the sword, as well as increasing our spell damage by 58%. And the most notable thing here is when we use a traversal skill, we are able to triple the effects of our ring by 4 seconds. Now it's time for us to showcase what the build can do, and we'll be using this Empowered Monolith for this example. The build is really easy. You can just drop Chthonic Fissure, drop your Spirit Plague, and spread those stacks to the enemies there, and transplant to finish them off to spread more freeze to our enemies. That enemies there. Take some loot. Move to target again. Drop Chthonic Fissure, Spirit Plague, transplant if you want. In my case, doesn't matter. Run to the enemies there. Drop a Chthonic Fissure. Drop our transplant, move to another target. Really fast, really easy. Just simple. Transplant there, Chthonic Fissure. If you have a lot of enemies that you want to you like quickly decimate, you can like drop Cathodic Fissure, use Spirit Plague, and then just press down our Chaos Bolt, and they're gone. Like that. Move to another location, grab Cathodic Fissure, Spirit Plague, hold down our Chaos Bolt if you prefer. Move to another location, find objective, drop Cathodic Fissure, Spirit Plague, okay, hold down Chaos Bolt. Once your transplant is off cooldown, rinse and repeat. Just press down Chaos Bolt while you drop that Cathodic Fissure. And that's it. And that's it, guys. Thank you for watching the build. This is the Face Tank Warlock 2.0, and I hope you enjoy using this build to your heart's content. Would love to know about your thoughts as well as your questions and clarifications in the comment down below. Don't forget to hit that like button if you guys enjoy the build. It really lets me know that you guys are enjoying the series. Shout out to all the people who subscribe and keep supporting the channel. I really appreciate you guys for all the amazing support, and for all the people who haven't subscribed yet, thank you for watching my videos, and I hope I earn your subscriptions in the future. But if I earn it today, please don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out a ton. If you want to support me directly, please consider joining our D20 Rollers Club by hitting the join button down below. I also have Patreon if you want to go that route. Finally, that's it for me. Up to you soon on the next Master Box Show. Peace out. Bye, guys.